And here we go, guys. So this is the wonderful V8 Northstar Cadillac STS from '99. First thing we're going to do is remove the whole intake system, including the main intake hose. So basically what we've got here is a band clamp here and a band clamp there. I'm not going to go through removing this out of the way because there is a special kind of locking band clamp for that. And if I unlock it, then it's going to be a nightmare to put a fresh one on. So we're just going to undo the band clamp for the intake there and right here, and then lift the whole thing out with the main intake hose still connected to it. So let's get started on that first. Okay, so that really wasn't possible. I had to release that locking band clamp, unfortunately, to get that out. Here is that locking band clamp. I hate messing with these, but luckily I have a fresh band clamp in my toolbox. I actually have an assortment of them, so I can replace this with a standard band clamp like this one here when we reassemble. But there is the first piece, and I went ahead and disconnected the main intake. We're going to go ahead and unclip this and then pull the rest of the intake hose off, or intake snorkel, that's what it's called on my BMW. Then we're going to remove this guy here, which is our main intake air box, and that's going to give us access right down here to where the water pump is. Let's keep trucking. All right, so we got the main front covering off as well. You guys can see it there. It comes out with a couple of these little plastic pins here. Be careful, you don't want to break them. We got our main intake out, and this is our water pump assembly right here. This is the external portion of it. The actual water pump is on the inside. So we got to detach these main feed lines here and get them out of the way. And then once we have them out of the way, we can get down here to the actual water pump and get started on it. So hang tight, y'all. Got some more disassembly. All right, so once we get down to this point where we've got the air box lifted out, we're about to completely get it lifted the rest of the way out. Once you get to this point, you want to take the main air box cover off of the top up here. And right up here gives you access to the ECM. So what we're going to do is go ahead and loose these screws right here, lift the ECM out, and very carefully set it over to the side out of the way, and then get the intake box the rest of the way out. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, so the ECM is gently lifted and set off to the side here. We want to get it as much clearance as possible when setting it to the side there. This is your ECM. It fits down into your air box. Now we can just lift our air box up and set it aside with everything else. All right, so now the not so fun part. We need to disconnect this feed line and this feed line from the water pump housing here, okay? So this is your water pump housing. Here's your main feed lines. There's a couple of nuts here on the top that are on studs, and then there's 2 bolts on the bottom. We're gonna loose those, and then we're just gonna gently pull the water pump housing face off right here, the face plate off, what am I saying? Face plate here, and just pull it straight out. That will show us the water pump underneath, and then we will get to pulling the water pump out and replacing it. Let's keep on trucking. ECM's out of the way, air box and intake are out of the way. So moving right along, guys, I was going to clamp this and remove it, but it turns out there's 2 little bolts that hold it in place, 10 mils, and you can easily just move it out of the way. Then you have your 10 mil bolts. There's 4 of them. Let's see if I can get that to clear up for you guys. There we go. So there's one here, there's one here, there's one down on that corner, and there's one underneath here in this back corner. That's a turd and a half to get to. But once you get that, you guys can see it's going to come right out of there. The housing faceplate is going to come right out just like that. I'm going to pull it out the rest of the way in just a second. And then your water pump is underneath. So hang tight. Let me get the rest of this removed and we'll get the new water pump in. Hold on tight, guys. All right, so this is actually a thermostat, guys. It's not just the housing cover. It's a thermostat. You can see, let's see if I can get to clear up. There you go. The thermostat's in there. It's not all rusted out. So thermostat's still good. And it looks like the thermostat housing gasket is still good. So here's the nasty part. And I'm going to have you, Miss Dasha, come in here and take a look at this too. This right here is your water pump. And you see how rusted it is?
Yeah.
Look at it. So it's cooked.
Okay, good.
It's all rusted out. Well, I mean, not good, but you know, at least we know. So yeah, that is the water pump right there, and it is pretty good and cooked. Okay. Also, every bit of coolant that was coming out of here, I'm going to be honest, it didn't even smell like coolant. It just looked like muddy water.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's not a bunch of rust that's gotten pumped through the system, but with the water pump being rusted out and all this grimy mud yuck in here, I would say there's a pretty good chance that you've got some rust in the system. So when you turn it over, just take it easy for the first couple of days and just kind of get her running. You know what I mean? Don't dog her or anything like that. And we'll go ahead and get this finished. All right, check it out, guys. So we got the water pump socket. There is the busted old water pump. Look at the difference. I was just showing Miss Dasha here. This is the new one. That is the old one. So the way this works, Miss Dasha, you want to hold the phone for me just for a second? Just like that. The way this works, guys, is you take your water pump socket, and your water pump socket, you see these ridges right here. It fits right around those ridges and locks, and you twist, and it removes the water pump out. So that's going to be the next step. Hang tight, and we'll make it happen. You can hit end on there now. Holy crap, BimmerBuilds Knox. Look at this old booty water pump. My goodness gracious. It is seized up, y'all. I want y'all to look at the difference here. We're going to set old and busted right here. Let's get the new hottie real quick. So check this out, y'all. Old and busted. Ugh. New hottie. Old and busted. New hottie. Y'all, what a grimy, rusted booty mess. My goodness gracious. All right, well, let's get this new bad boy in there and keep her trucking, y'all. Basically, it's the same thing to go right back in, and I'll show you guys. I was pulling counterclockwise because most stuff to undo it is counterclockwise. In this case, it fits over like such, and you twist it this way towards the engine bay instead of counterclockwise away from the engine bay. In order to put the new one in, we will put the water pump socket on there, and we will turn it counterclockwise towards us to lock the new pump in. Friggin' GM with their goofy parts. I work on BMWs, y'all. GM, what are you doing? It takes me like 4 bolts in 3 hours, not even 3 hours, like 4 bolts in an hour and a half to replace a power steering pump and a water pump. What are you guys doing with this mess? Holy smokes. And there we are, guys. So air box is going back in, intake's about to go in. We're gonna clean the intake with a little WD-40. We've got the ECM getting bolted back in now with its T9s. I did swap out the compression clamp for a standard band clamp because those clamps are the worst trying to put hoses back on. My band clamp wasn't quite big enough, so we're getting some properly sized band clamps to make sure that that's nice and tight. But new water pump is in, everything's good to go. We are finishing putting everything back together, and that is that, y'all. I will show you what it looks like when we're completely done, much like back here at the very beginning. Hang tight, y'all, hang tight, we're finishing up. All right, y'all, well, we're still dealing with a leak from somewhere, but the water pump was done. The air intake box and system has been put back together. All of the hoses were checked for leaks. We upgraded quite a few of the compression clamps to band clamps. Yeah, so the system has been replaced. The water pump system has been replaced. Everything went in flawlessly. We're still dealing with a leak, and we can't quite figure out where it is coming from. So I will stay in touch with Dasha, not Dasha, by the way, Dasha, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of where that leak's coming from, because now I'm awful curious myself too. Y'all, that is a replacement of the water pump on a 1999 Cadillac STS with the Northstar V8. Stick around for the rest of the spring and summer. I'm sure there'll be lots more jobs coming, and we've got new cars coming right here at BimmerBuilds Knox. Stick around, y'all.